Hi everyone, my name is Kingsley Idoko, and I want to welcome you to this section of the video on implementation of Route-Reflector IBGP pairing designs. We have actually got started with this implementation, and this is the part two of it. Earlier, we actually looked at how the route reflectors are being configured to pair with all the IBGP pairs, and we also saw how the IBGP clients are also pair with the route reflectors. Okay, so in this section, we've actually what we are going to be focusing on is how do you bring in the EBGP peers, the prefixes we are learning from the EBGP neighbors. How do we make sure that all the IGPs or the provider edge devices can perform what we call route recursions to those prefixes and be able to reach them? So if I bring up the topology, so far what we have done, if you have not or if you're not with me in the earlier video, I strongly recommend that you go back. So currently these are our route reflector. So router 1 is the route reflector, RR1. So these are RR2. Okay, so all every other routers in the core, which includes this, all have pairing to the route reflector 1 and also the route reflector 2. So what we have also done is we have taken all the prefixes here, we have sent it to router 1, and we told router 1 that when you receive prefixes from router 5 and they are from AS 56, we want you to set the next up to yourself, which is the loopback address, and then advertise it to all your IBGP peers, including the route reflector. So that is where we've currently stopped in the last video. So in this video now, what we are actually exploring is the different ways we can actually onboard the EBGP peers. We said there are different ways we can do it. One is for the P routers, like in router 1, we said to set the next hop. Saying set the next hop, uh, set next hop, next hop to self. So I did say that this yourself here you have to point it to a particular IP address, especially for XRO. So that's what we did for router 1. So between router 3 and router 11, what we're going to do, we're going to use IGP. So we're going to take this link, this dual last mile, and we're going to advertise it into the IGP process by simply advertising that link into the IGP. In this case, we're using IS to ISIS, which is intermediate system to intermediate system. Here, here we're going to use passive interface. We already talked about that. So here, what we're going to be doing is, I've forgotten what we said we'll do here. But here we are going to use route map. So here we'll do a route map. Okay. Here we are going to use redistribution. So we're going to simply redistribute this interface into the BGP process. So we're going to take this link, we're going to tie it to a route policy and then advertise it and then distribute it into the IGP process. Okay, so it's just to sort of go through all the different ways we can actually bring in prefixes we are learning from our eBGP neighbors into the core. All right, because by default, when you receive prefixes from your eBGP peer and you advertise it to the IGP peers, you don't modify the next stop. And we see that when you don't modify the next stop, it becomes very difficult for your IGP peers to perform what we call route recursions to those destinations. So we need to give them a next stop that is reachable that they can recurse to. So that's the idea or the issue or the design issues we are trying to resolve here. So I'm just going to clean up what we have here and bring up my cursor. So we're going to go to router. So let's just look at what we currently have. So this is still my router 4. So if I say show IP BGP summary, so we're learning prefixes from router 1 and router 2, as well as router 6 and router 10. So for router 6 and router 10, there are eBGP pairs, okay? And for router 1 and router 2, these are the route reflectors. We talked about the issue with control plane and data plane, and we said that for route reflectors in the real world, they don't forward data traffic. All right. So what they are in charge of is the control plane. They receive routes from your IBGP neighbors or customer prefixes. They learn them. They also learn prefixes from your upstream providers. In this case, if you're a tier 3 provider, you definitely have either a tier 2 or a direct connection to a tier 1 provider. And that tier 1 provider is giving you the global BGP table. So when the Route-Reflector gets these prefixes, it then advertises it to all its IGP neighbors. So the IGP neighbors then in turn replicate it to customers that need the global or full BGP table. So that's how it works. I can't think of a situations where you might want to force the Route-Reflector to be in the data plane. But in the real world, these are just like A9, A9 keys, small boxes that their job is just to replicate prefixes and send it to every IBGP pair within the BGP core network. All right, so with that, we're going to go to Router 3 now. I have a lot of memory level being overseeded. Of course, this is just a warning because of the limited memory I'm having on my computer. So on Router 3, if I span this out, so Router 3, so we do have a pair with Router 1, Router 11. But currently, if I say show raw interface gig 1.113, you see that it's not currently running any IGP process. There's no, I can't think of a reason why you want to run IGP on interface that is facing a customer, because those interfaces are not trusted. So you want to be careful when you do enable the, IGP on those interfaces. We said that for our lab purposes, I just want to show you that so as it is now, the prefixes we are learning from router 11, I don't want to start going over this thing over and over again, but the issue we are trying to resolve is this. Router 1 send prefixes to router 3, router 3 then in turn send those prefixes to the IBGP pairs, right? But when router 3 forward it to the IBGP pairs, it doesn't modify in the next stop. That is a problem because the IBGP pair does not know how to get to router 11 prefixes. So what we need to do is to tell router 3 that when you receive prefixes from router 11, please set the next up to yourself and then forward it to all your IBGP pairs. We said that is one option. That's what we did in router 1. But router 3 now, what I just want to do is just enable IGP on that interface that is going to router 11. So with that, all the IGP neighbors will be able to see that network or that subnet in their routing table, and so they'll be able to do route recursion to those prefixes. Because if I go to router 2 now and I say show IPBGP for any prefixes I'm learning from 65011, okay, so we are going to see that yes, we are learning prefixes from router 11, but we don't have the correct path. We have a valid path, but we cannot recurse to those IPs because the next stop is inaccessible. Because if I come here and say show IPBGP for 172.16.113.11, this is going to be slash so it's just going to be 0/24. You're going to see that yes, we're learning it from router 3. And router 3 is telling us that the next stop is router 11, but I can't get to router 11 because it's currently inaccessible. Okay, so you can see that although we have these prefixes in our routing table, there's no way we are going to advertise it to IBGP pairs. So currently router 2 is learning those prefixes. It's a Route-Reflector. It ought to have forwarded it to all the IBGP pairs, but because it does not have the correct path to those prefixes, it's not going to advertise it. Because for example, if I ask router 2, I say show BGP, show IPBGP neighbor 172. Let's say 20.4.4. I'm going to ask it, so what are you advertising to this neighbor? So you're going to see among those prefixes that is being advertised, none of them include the prefixes we are learning from router 11. Because router 2 does not have the correct path, he is not going to send it to the IBGP pair. So this is a design problem. This is an issue that we have got to resolve. So the simple way we can do it here is to just simply go to that interface gig 1.113. I'm going to say router ISIS, I'm going to enable the process for 1. So when we do that, you're going to see that if I say show IP route now for ISIS, you're going to see that we are not learning that that interface, which is 113, should be here. So 16. Okay, so let's just say show IP route. So show IP route for ISIS. Show IP route for ISIS. You should be learning it from the. It should be in the routing table now. So I know how to reach this and 89, 79, 78. We might need to clear the IBG process. So okay, so I think as Rada 3 is only is learning it not from ISIS, but because it's already directly connected, we are not going to see it here. But of course, if I say just show IP route and I don't filter, then show IP route to see that we're already learning it as a locally connected interface, which in this case is this. So you're also going to see that for Router 2 is also going to be learning on that interface, not through BGP but through IGP. So I'm going to say show IP route for ISIS. So you're going to see we are getting 113. We're learning about 113 from our next stop is 172 from router 7. Okay, so we are learning it through IGP in this case. So in that case, it means we cannot do what we call route recursion to that link. So if I say show, if we now go back and say let me use my up arrow key. So if I say show IPGPP to this, you see we cannot recourse to that low-back IP, that point interface between router 11 and router 3. So if I go there and say show IPBGP for regex, anything that is coming from uh, 65011, okay, I will end it as this. You're going to see we now have not just a valid path, but we now have best path to those destinations. So that's another valid case here. So what we simply do between between router 11 and router 3 is to add this interface to your IGP process. So this automatically was added to the intermediate system process, and then all the routers within your IGP will now request to the interface, and hence it became a valid path. Just to point something out here, you can see that this autonomous system is what 65011. This is a private autonomous system, and in the real world, private autonomous systems cannot be added to the global BGP table because they are not unique. It's like private IPs in your RFC 1918. We don't want to add that. Rather, we want to strip them out and want to override them with the global AS of the provider. So one way we can do that is simply to go into the BG process. So on router 3, I'm going to say show run pipe section router BGP. I think we should leave it for now, right? Router BGP. So I'm going to say for this neighbor, for neighbor.11, which is this appearing, I'm just going to copy of T paste. If I say remove private, not remote, I think I might need to go to the address family, IPv4, unicast. Okay, so I'm going to say for neighbor, which is this IP, I'm going to grab it again. Copy paste. So I'm going to say remove the private AS. So what this does is going to strip. So as it is now, I'm going to say remove private AS. Okay, so if I hit enter, so what this command is really doing is so let me bring up my topology. So what we're saying is this. So the idea of remove private AS is, remember that we are pairing with on router 11, we are pairing with what 65011, right? Now, do you recall what the range of the private AS is? We said is what 6 64512, I guess, to 65535, right? So since this is the range of the private AS. So anything between 1 to 64511 are public AS. Similarly, anything that begins from 65530, I think it's 36. So it should be 36 from now. Okay, will be a public uh, autonomous system. In this case, this is going to be the 4 byte format. So this is for the 4 byte format. This is for the 2 byte format. So what when we say remove private AS on this link, okay? Now is going to be applied outbound from router 3. So what we are telling router 3 is that anytime you send prefixes to router 11, please, we want you to strip any private AS, any private AS that is in the AS path list. Okay, so if there's any private AS that is listed in the AS path list, we want you to strip it out. That is what that command is doing. Now, with your XRO, I know there's a way you can control whether you are filtering the AS path for whether you are filtering it inbound or whether you are filtering it outbound. Okay, so what I would have really loved to demonstrate here is how do you filter, how do you make sure that when router 11 send prefixes to router 3, the router 3 strip out the private AS, which is this value, and then replace it with its own AS and advertise it to the Route-Reflector. For iOS, I'm not sure how that will be possible, because if you look at the options that are there, we don't have too many options. The only additional option we have there is the all. And so what this all is really doing is to say, let's say for example, I have an AS path list that says 65011 and maybe 56 and 1. Now, if we don't add the all keyword to our remove AS path list, remove private AS, if we don't add the all to it, because they are public and private AS listed, the router is going to ignore the private AS. It's going to think that maybe it's a design choice by the administrator. Okay, but when we say all, it means the router will go ahead and strip this out, even if it's part of the the public autonomous system that is being advertised to router 11. So when we say remove private AS, what we are saying router 3 that when you advertise profits to router 11, please remove the private autonomous system. Okay, so I'm going to add the all keyword now to say, okay, even if the public AS are included in the AS path list, go ahead and remove all the private AS that are included. Okay, so but for XR, we're going to find out that yes, it's possible for us to specify whether it's going to be inbound or if it's going to be outbound. Okay, then we're also going to specify if we are going to say, okay, only strip out the AS if all the AS path list is private. Okay, and so many other options that are part of it. Okay, but just understand the idea that private AS, you remember that your private AS are not unique on the global BGP table. Okay, now within your core they can exist. Okay, maybe you are using it for let's say for example, okay, so let's take this customer for example. So this customer has two connectivity, one to your provider edge device router 2 and one to your provider edge router 4. So basically in the real world, this could be your fiber leg, right? So this could be the fiber last mile. Okay, while this could be maybe your radio, you could be using radio. I'm just talking this, I mean, like in this part of the world, that is what you are likely to find. This is going to be maybe a fiber build, this is going to be a radio microwave connectivity. And so the customer is going to tell you, oh, I want this to be my primary part, then I want this to be my secondary part. Okay, so in that case, we will need to run BGP here with the two provider edge devices, where we can set here to have a higher weight so that it will be preferred, and here too we're going to set the local preference. We're going to say when you take prefixes from router 6 and advertise into your core, you want to set the local preference to be maybe 150. So in that case, router 2 is always going to be preferred outbound to the customer, where the customer too will be using the weight metric to what go through this part. All right, so in this case, the customer might not have his own autonomous system, so we're just going to give him a private AS. okay, in the range of 645.112 to 655.35, and so we're going to pair with them with BGP, maybe with inside a VRF, okay, and then we are going to say, okay, whenever we are sending these prefixes out, or we're sending it out to another ebgp pair, we want to strip the private AS out, because within your IGP you can have the private AS resides ibgp, so you are going to see them within your core, but as we are going out, maybe to your upstream provider or your downstream provider or to other customers, we want to strip that private AS out, because we don't want to have conflict. Okay, it's just similar to your private RFC 1918, that autonomous system number needs to be unique on the internet. And so because autonomous system numbers are limited, and because not all companies can just go to your maybe Afrinic or Apinic to say, okay, I want my own address space and autonomous system number, you have to have the you have to meet the requirement, which is you must have this part diversity across the internet. You must have a lot of your network should be so large enough for you to meet the requirement. So there are companies that have dual last mile with the same provider or multiple providers, so they would have to run this private with the provider, and so they're able to have this implement their own sort of routing policy or traffic engineering. All right, so that's really what that command is doing. So if I wipe this out now, bring back my cursor. So what I was saying is that I can come here to say, so on this my router 2, okay, so on this my router 3, I can say, okay, remove private AS even if it includes public and private. Okay, so we can also say replace as. I believe this replace as is okay. If you are removing the private AS, what do you want to overwrite it with? You can say, okay, I want to overwrite it with my own autonomous system, which is the service provider autonomous system. Okay, so in that case, I'm going to just leave it the way it is. So what you're going to see is we might not really be able to see the effect here, because this policy is actually applied outbound to the customer. So in this case, you are going to say that router 11 will no longer be able to learn of any other private AS that might be within the core, because those values will be stripped out. So that is what this command remove private AS is. There's another command that says neighbor. There's a lot of options. We'll go and talk about those things later. 113.11. I'm going to say maximum prefix. So I can tell router 11, this is the number of prefixes you are allowed to send to me. It's normally an agreement, maybe 100 prefix or 1,000 prefix. Okay, so I'm going to say I'm going to allow you to send to me 1,000 prefixes. But once you exceed that, then I'm going to either warn you. So there are a lot of options we can choose from here. We can either warn them, we can restart the BGP session, we can set we just set the threshold now, right? It's okay, 1,000. However, by the time we are approaching 750, okay, so we'll say, okay, the maximum frequency we are allowing is 1,000, but by the time we are approaching 750, I want to go ahead and, so by the time we are approaching 750, then I want to go ahead and send a warning. um okay, so I don't, those options is not really there, it's just got to be one. So I'm going to say warning, so I'm going to send a warning only. Okay, so we're going to talk about many of the other options that we've not really dealt with as far as BGP is concerned. Things like our BGP timers. Okay, we've not really talked about BGP timers. You have the global BGP timer. You also have timers that are related or to associated with a specific customer. So globally, I can be running my default BGP timer of 6180 for the whole time. But for specific neighbors, I might say, okay, I want it to be 10 and 30. So we can as well do that. We're going to talk about that later, subsequently in the course. So I'm just going to leave this. I'm going to save. Always remember to save, especially in the lab exam. So I'm going to say show run pipe section router BGP. So this is what we have now. So I'm going to be stripping private AS as I send updates to router uh, as I send update to router 11. All right. So so we're good with that now, right? Remember we said on router 2, we said when we say show IPBGP um for the neighbor, for the regex, we use the regex is anything that is originated from 650011. Okay, so you see that we are still learning the AS numbers, right? So we're still learning it because uh, that remove private AS doesn't apply inbound, it's actually applied outbound as we advertise our prophecies to that customer. We don't want to include our private AS that we are using for a customer that is in a different region. Okay, so because you don't even know router 11 network, they might be using this value too for their own internal BGP configuration. We don't know, so we don't want to send it to them. Okay, so that is that. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to go over to router 4. So router 4 now, we said before, so the same rule applies as router 4 receive prefixes from router 10 and it advertise it to the route reflector. Is not going to modify the next stop. So what we need to do now is we need to take all the prefixes that are here and redistribute them into the BGP network. Okay, so we are going to use the redistribution command. So when we redistribute, we're going to find out that by the time we redistribute the prefixes, then these IBGP neighbors will be able to perform route recursions to those destinations that resides within router 10. So to pull that off is XRO is a little bit much more. You just need to use more configuration to achieve that. So currently we have some policies that we have already created in router 4, but in this case we are going to create a policy. Okay, so I'm going to say config. Okay, so I'm going to create a policy. I'm going to say route policy. We need to use route policy to achieve this, because if I just go to, if I say router BGP1 and I say address family IPv4 unicast and then redistribute connected, is going to apply to all the interfaces that are directly connected to router 4. That is not what we want. But remember, if I use question mark, then we would have the ability to tie in a route policy, more like a route map to specify the specific prefixes that we want to redistribute into IPGP. So in this case, what I'm going to do is let's create the route policy. I'm going to say route policy. So I'm going to exit out. I'm going to say route dash policy. Then let's just type it straight. I'm going to say let's give it a name. I'll say redistribute from router 10. Okay, so that's the policy. I'm going to hit enter. So I'm going to say if the destination now, I'm going to say prefix. So let's just say in. So we are not creating a prefix component. So let's find out what are the interfaces that are associated with router 10. So they are here. So we have 172.20.10.10, 172.16.10.10, and 172.16.104.10. I should be able to remember that. So I'm going to say 172.20.10.10. We have to be careful, they have to match. 172.16.10.10, I guess. So this one is going to be /0/24, because for point-to-point connectivity. Hit a command, use my command. I'm going to say 172.16.104.0/24. Okay, so I'm going to close the brackets. All right, so I'm going to say then. Okay, I'm going to say then. We just want to pass it. And if end policy show configuration. So what we're saying is, okay, so these are the prefixes we want to redistribute, right? So we created a route map or a route policy matching these prefixes. Okay, we are simply passing them. We are not really doing anything. But see what we are going to do now. So what we are going to do now is I'm going to say router BGP1 Okay, then I'm going to say for address family IPv4 unicast, then I'm going to say redistribute connected. So I'm going to apply in the route policy now. We say ROD from router 10. Copy paste. So we need to specify the direction. I'm going to say out. Okay, because if I use question mark, it's going to ask. Okay, so there's no direction here. So we just hit enter better. So we are good. All right. So if I say show run router BGP, so you can see that we had the retrieve prefixes from router 10, but we are tying it into this route policy. So to see the effect of this, if we go to router 2 now and say show IP BGP or show BGP IPv4 unicast, regex, I want to see what are we learning from router 10. Okay, so 10 end. So as you can see, we are learning two prefixes from router 10. Okay, so we're only learning two, we are not learning the 104 prefix. So why are we not learning that? So let's just see that we're actually matching. Show RPL route policy. So we did say this is what 172.16.104.0/24. If we go to router 10 and say show run interface G0/0/0/0.104. Alright, so yes, so what we matched was actually correct. I'm not sure why that interface was not redistributed. So the only reason why it was not redistributed could be because we're not even originating this in the first place. So let's say show run router BGP. So we are originating it here. So let's say show IPBGP neighbor, show IPBGP, show BGP IPv4 unicast. I'm going to say for neighbor, let's just say unicast for neighbor 172.16.104. So in this case, it's going to be 4. I'm going to say what is my advertised route. So we're actually advertising the three prefixes to route. So I hope we are matching this correctly. So I'm just going to grab this again and let's compare it with what we have here, which seems to be correct, but it only matched these two prefixes. So I'm not really sure why it's only two prefixes we're learning from router 5, router 10, maybe because that prefix is already directly connected to router. Okay, so let's just say try BGP. Let's see if it's there. So as it currently stands, we are okay. So we're already learning it because it was redistributed. Is that what it means? So we're already learning the preface and okay, so we're learning it, but it's not okay. I think what the issue is we're learning the prefix, okay, and it's not from AS10, all right. So we're learning it, but we are not learning it from autonomous system number 10. That is why when we said show IP BGP for that for route that are originated from router 10, it did include it. So it's not that we're not learning it, we're learning it, but it's just not from. So the way I see it, if we go back to router 4, on router 4, if I say show IP interface brief, okay, so I think the reason why it's that way is this prefix or this subnet is directly connected to router 4. So when we say redistribute, it's going to match that interface because that interface was included in the route policy that we created. So instead of saying that it's coming from router 10, it's simply matching uh, uh, that interface. Because if we go back to say show RPA route policy, we say from I think what was the so if we look at it, we are not specifying the autonomous system these prefixes are coming from. So we're only saying if you see these prefixes, we want you to redistribute them into the BGP process. All right. So if there was a way we could have matched as, okay, if these prefixes are these and they are coming from this autonomous system, I think that would have appeared there. But nonetheless, we have reachability. So because if I come here and say show IP BGP, so if I say show IP BGP, so we have valid paths to those prefixes, to those destinations, and we can get to them. So for 46.0/24, I have two paths. One is through we're learning it. Sorry, not 46. It's 104.0. So I have one part, and my next stop is router 4. The greater than sign that means we can recourse to that IP address because they were redistributed. So whenever you see this question mark, it tells you that it was. So if we go in here, so it means it was redistributed. Okay, and so it could not completely recourse to the IP address, so it becomes incomplete. Okay, so so far what we have done here now is that so if I bring back my pen, so we have succeeded in bringing this part in. I also did the same thing here. All right, and we have also, so what we did here was that we used IGP. Here we use next hop self, right? So we said next hop self. Okay, so we say when you see these prefixes and you are distributing it into the IGB process, go ahead and set the next hop to yourself. That was fine. So here we use the redistributed keyword command. So we took the prefixes from router 10 and also this interface and we redistributed them into the IBGP process. Now what we have left, I just remember that we have this part left too. Okay, then we have this part and this part. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm just going to use the passive interface command here. Okay, so I'm going to go to this interface. I'm under the ISIS process. I'm going to say this interface is passive. When you say an interface is passive, what does that mean? It means I don't want to send hello, ISIS hello messages through this interface, right? And so if we don't send hellos, adjacency will never be formed. But nonetheless, what will happen is that this interface will be redistributed into the IGP. So all these routers that are within your BGP core will be able to recourse to that IP. So router will be able to see that is learning about this interface through intermediate system to intermediate system, which is the ISIS. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here, and so maybe we'll also do it here. Okay, so we're also going to come here and say this interface is passive. It means we're learning it through IGP, but in this case, so like I said earlier, there are different ways we can actually integrate or bring in the eBGPs into the global BGP. But of course, the Cisco best practice is that we use the next hop self, which is what is mostly used. Distribution is also there, but of course, um, this is more like the best practice. So use passive interface on this interface that is going to router 5. We also do it for the interface that is going to between router 4 and router 6. Here I'm going to use route map. Okay, so I'll use route map here to match those prefixes and then I'll redistribute them into the BGP process. Okay, so let's move ahead now. Let's continue. If I take out pen, bring back my cursor. So we're going to go into router 4 now. Yes, router 4. It's just going to be easy compared to the one we did last. So on router 4, let me expand this out. I'm going to say show run router ISIS. So I'm just going to go into this interface, copy, T, then I'm going to paste it back. Okay, so I'm going to say the interface is passive. Oh, not for E. So I'm going to hit commit. All right, so if I go back and say show run router ISIS, so you can see that we are now advertising that interface into the IGP process. So I assume that router 3 should now have reachability to that interface. So if I say show IP route for ISIS, so we should be learning of the interface that is going from 4 to 6. Okay, so currently I know how to reach this subnet, and my next stop is router 8. Okay, so we are learning about that interface through IGP. So what that ultimately means is that if we learn prefixes from router 4, okay, so as it is, when we do that, it means that when we learn prefixes from router 4, so when router 6 takes this look back and applies it to router 4, okay, router 4 will not modify the next stop, okay, so it will send it to router 2, and it will also send it to router 1. Okay, so router 1 will in turn send it to router 3, and router 2 will also end up sending it to router 3. All right. So router 3, when they advertise it to router 3, the route reflectors too will not modify the next stop. It means the next stop will be pointed to this interface, which is gig 1.46 on this link that is connecting between router 4 and router 6. So the next question is, can router 3 recurse to this next stop IP? If it can recurse, it means this part becomes valid, and so you'll be able to see the greater than sign applied to it. So let's see that now. So if I wipe this out and go back to router 3. So on router 3 now, let's say show IP BGP for rejects anything that is coming from 56 dollar sign. So for 6.6.6, still saying it doesn't have a valid path. Hmm. Uh, for 176.26.6, it has a valid path. So, but for this prefix, it does not have a valid path. Okay, so I like this kind of scenarios. Let's dig deep. Let's know why currently it doesn't have a valid path. So let's say I want to show IPBGP for 172.20.6.6/32. It's still saying that this next stop is not accessible. All right, so it seems it's still using route 6 as the next stop. So it's saying I'm learning it from router 2, and my next stop is this interface. Of course, we will not be able to learn about this interface because if you look at the topology between router 2 and router 6, that gig 1, this interface here between, which is gig 1.26, we are not yet advertising it into the BGP process. All right, it's not that we are not advertising, we are not yet able to recurse to that IP because we've never we have not yet modified the next stop address of that interface. So, but the question is, when you look at the topology here, look at my pen. Um, so router 6 send it to router 4 send it to router 2, and router 1, right? So router 2 in turn send it to router 3, router 1 in turn send it to router 3. But from what I'm seeing from that table now, it seems we are not getting any update from router 1, right? Let's check. If we go back here, so if I should go back to this prefix. So currently we only received update from router 6 and not from router 1. So let's go to router 1 and say, okay, what are you advertising to? I'm going to say show IPBGP. So currently router 1 is learning of those prefixes. Okay, so router 1 too is learning of those prefixes, as you can see. But why are you not advertising it to router 3? So let's say show IPBGP or show BGP IPv for unicast for the neighbor 170.20.3.3 advertise routes. Okay, so we're advertising routes to router 3. Just these three interfaces. Um Remember what we did in the previous video, right? Where we created a route policy and matched these prefixes, right? And we said when these prefixes come in, we want you to set the next stop to yourself and then advertise it on your IBGP page. Okay, so I think the problem is this. Remember when you create a route map and you match policies, and you say permit 10, and you have matched what you want to match. You remember, you always have to use the other permit 20 and say, okay, pass every other thing, right? So it says router 1 is currently filtering every other route and only explicitly permitting only these three prefixes. So we have got to modify that route policy. So I'm going to say show RPL route policy. This is the route policy. So we need to add the S keyword here and say when you learn prefixes from, I'm just going to copy this. So we'll say, so these prefixes, okay, fine, set the next stop to this, else we want you to pass every other word traffic. So I'm going to say end if, and I'm going to say end policy, so I'm going to hit commit. So with this now, I believe router 1 should be show IPBGP for the neighbor. Okay, show BGP IPv4 unicast for the neighbor 172.20.3.3. Advertise routes. Yeah, so now, so that policy was we have to be careful most times when we create our policies to ensure that if we are saying some prefixes, when some prefixes come, we're going to tag them, or we're going to set their next or reset their next stop. We also have to ensure that every other prefix that is coming in are permitted, because if we don't add the permit or pass for the other prefixes, it's only going to apply to those prefixes that we are learning. So currently I'm advertising, so let's look for um 46. So we're advertising 46 to, so 4 to 6, we're advertising it, but we're saying the next stop is 2. That's this strange. So let's look at it this way. I'm going to say show IPBGP for the neighbor, show BGP IPv4. I love BGP unicast neighbor. I'm going to say 172.20.3.3 advertise routes. So this is what we're advertising to route 3. Okay, so we're advertising this subnet to router 6, but we're saying you should use router 6 next stop. That is the link between router 2 and router. So this is kind of strange to me. So let's go to router 3. Let's say show IPBGP/36. Okay, so now we at least we have two parts, right? So my first part is this, and I'm learning it from router 1. Okay, and my second part is this. I mean, my next stop is this, and I'm learning it from router 2. So we do have a valid part now, right? So I don't really know why. Okay, so let's also ask router 1 show BGP IPv4 unicast for 172.20.6.6.6/32. So yes, it has a valid part, but router 1 is saying that his own best part is router 2. So my next step is router 2, and I'm learning it from router 2, and my next stop is router 2. It's also learning it from router 4, and my best part is router 4. So if we try to dig deeper on why it is preferring router 2 as a better part than router 4, obviously, so let's look at it. The AS is the same, right? So they are both coming from 56. Okay, so let's start from the weight. The weight is not set yet, so they are the same. The local preference here is 100. Of course, we've never modified the local preference. The origin, so they were not locally originated. We are learning it from our IPGPPS. The AS part is the same. They are both 56, 56. Which other thing? Uh, Origin code is IGP. Okay, so IGP internal, they are both internal. Okay, internal over external. What other thing? Metric to the next stop, they are both 30, so they are the same. Uh, Obviously, maybe it's the router ID, right? Lowest router ID. The tiebreakers thing. So obviously, it's preferring this part because it has a lower router ID. But the question is, can router 1 recurse to this next stop? So let's check that. I'm going to say copy. I'm going to say show IP BGP 172.16.26.6. Okay, so it's saying yes. To get there, I'm using router 2 to get there. Okay, so let me say slash, I'm going to say 6.6/32, which is what we did before. Okay, sorry. Okay, so for router 1 is saying, okay, so what did I type in before? Oh, okay, so I say show IBBGP for this. Okay, my bad. So what we were trying to get to before was my mistake. So was we are trying to request to the loopback of uh, router 6. Okay, so it's telling us, of course, the next hop, the best part is router 4 because this next hop was inaccessible, of course. Okay, so currently, because we have not made any modification to the next hop on router 2, that loopback is inaccessible. So for router 1, he's definitely picking router 4 as the next hop because we can perform route recursion to this. So you're going to see that from router 1, we are able to do a ping to 172.20.6.6. I'm going to source it from my loopback. So we should have reachability. Same thing for router 3. So currently router 3 is also choosing, uh, so router 6 is also choosing the interface between router 4 and router 6 as the best part because, and we are learning it from uh, router 1. Okay, so there's a part we're also learning from router 2, but currently that part is not currently accessible because we cannot request to this next of IP address. I think this has to do with what we call the BGP next stop processing, because the next stop has to be, we must be able to request to the next stop, otherwise I will not be able to install that route in the BGP table or in the fig. Okay, so as it currently stands now, um, so we have reachability, right? So if I say show IPBGP, okay, so of course we already know why router 3 cannot request to this IP. So from router 3 to we should have be able to ping 172.20.6.6/32. Okay, so the 6 source is loopback 0. So we have reachability. If I do a trace route to 172.20.6.6, I'm going to source it from loopback. You're going to see that so as it stands now, uh, we are going through router 8, then from router 8 it goes to router 9, then from router 9 it goes to router 4, then router 4 it gets to router 6. So if I bring up my topology here, so the way it's going now currently is, so from router 3 it goes to router 8 goes to router 9 gets to router 4, and then router 4 goes to router 6. That's the path we are choosing because router 3 is able to record to this specific interface. All right, so uh, so that's it, right? So there's really no much complication. So but let's look at router 2 currently. Yes, we're going to ask router 2, how are you able to get to this loopback address? Of course router 2 should be preferring this part, right? Because router 2 can request to the next stop. But you are going to see that when router 2 advertises that part to router 3, because router 3 is not able to request to this IP address here. Okay, so that part was not preferred. So another point I want to try to emphasize here is, remember we learned the prefixes from router 1, right? Okay, so I'm just trying to emphasize the fact here that your route reflectors are not in the data part, right? They are not in the data plane, but they are only in the control plane. So we learn these prefixes here. We advertise it to router 1. Router 1 then forward it to the route reflector. The route reflector then forwarded it to router 3, and say the next stop is this interface here, which is this one that's 46. Router 3 check, can I request to that IP? He said yes, I have a valid path. So you then go ahead and forward it through this path to the destination. So again, route reflectors are only in the control plane. They are not in the data plane. So most times the route in the service provider environment, the route reflectors does not connect to any customers. uh, they don't. So there are really some low end, maybe A1K or A9Ks. Their job is just to learn about the global BGP table and then uh, forward it to all the route reflector clients, and maybe sometimes customers that are also learning of the full BGP table. Okay, so what we did now is we said when you learn prefixes from your IBGP pair and you advertise it to another IBGP pair, don't modify the next stop. So it means ultimately the route reflectors are not in the data part. Remember, the reason why we have route reflectors is to break the split horizon rule in IGP and IBGP. I mean that when you learn prefixes from an IGP, normally you are not supposed to forward it to another IGP. But because we made this guy to be the route reflector, it's going to break the split horizon rule that applies to IBGP and then forward it to router 3. Okay, so let's just what is there any other thing we need to check here? Let's go to router 2 now. So Control Shift 7, Control Shift 2. Um, I'm going to ask router 2. Okay, let me ask router 2 this question. As I ask it, I say show IPBGP regex for anything that is coming from autonomous system 56. So router 2 also has a valid path to 172.20.6.6, where's 20.6.6. Okay, so he also has a valid path there, and his next stop is router 6, and of course he can perform that route recursion to that IP. So if I say ping 172.20.6.6, I'm going to source it from my loopback. So we do have IP reachability. All right. So the next thing we need to do on router 2 is we also need to tell router 2 that whenever you learn prefixes from, let's ask router 6 and say, okay, what are you currently advertising to router 2? So I'm going to say show IPBGP for neighbor 172.16.26.2. I'm going to say what are we advertising? Oh, so this is interesting. So this is what we're advertising to router 6, router 2, right? So we are telling router 2 that to get to these prefixes, use this nestor, which is I think obviously router 4, right? So if we also ask this router 6 46.4, what are you advertising? So we so let's look at this here. So what are you advertising? So we're also telling router 4 that to get to these prefixes is you use itself, right? Of course, so this is not what we really want. Okay, so what router 2, I mean what router 6 should be advertising to router 2 are the only the locally originated prefixes, right? But you see, once you learn these prefixes from, it's like I learned something from you, then I'm advertising it back to you. Of course, I think router 4 is going to filter them out if the router ID is already included, or if it's using them as the next stop. We'll come. So on router 2, I'm just going to go back to, let's go to the global config. So I'm going to create a route map, right? So I'm going to say route map. I'll say, let's just say route says ebgp, right? So we want to match some prefixes. So we need to create those prefixes. So I'm going to say IP prefix list. Um, let's now say from router 6. Let's just say router 6 prefix. Okay. Um, we're going to say permit. So it's going to be 172.20.6.6/32. Okay, IP prefix again. So use my up arrow key 16.26.0/24. Then the last one is going to be 46, which is the link connected to the other part. Okay, so if I say this should run prefix, pipe include prefix. So this is what we have. So as it is now, since I already created this earlier, so let's take this one out. So I'm just going to copy Although they are matching the same thing, but let's use one of them. Move this one out. uh, but we don't need that. Then the last part, which is this, so take that one out too. Okay, so let's, if I say do show run again, so we still have them. So let me just take it to notepad and put a note. So on my notepad, so I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, so I'm going to come here and say know this and know that. Okay, so I'm going to copy this now. Say copy and paste. Okay, so that if we go back to this now, now we have trace so that we don't get confused with multiple prefix matching. So most times you always want to use a name that when somebody sees it is able to immediately see what that prefix set or the prefix list is doing. So we're going to create a route map now. So I already have my route map. Just show run 5 section route map. So I already have my route map. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it back. Okay, so I'm going to say I want to match the IP address prefix list. So my prefix list is going to be, this is the name, copy paste. Then I'm going to say set IP next hop, right? So I always like to use the specific IP you want to set it to, which is this. But when you say set it to next hop, self, self could be an IP that you probably will not want to use. So I want to be very sure of what I'm putting it to. So I'm going to hit enter. Remember, we always need to add the route map again. So I'm going to go back to route map. So add 20 and say we are permitting all. So copy paste, just say 20. So we should be good. So we say show run 5 section route map. So we created a route map and we are matching this prefix list and we are setting the next stop to ourselves. Okay, so we're also permitting every other prefixes we are learning. When we match those specific prefixes, we're going to set the next stop to ourselves. So what we just need to do now is to apply it to the BGP process, right? So I'm going to say do show run 5 section uh, router BGP. So so what we can do here, I believe, can we tie it to so can we, I'm not sure if we can tie it to um so can we tie it to the policy, the global BGP policy? Let's find out. I'm not sure, but let's see if we can do that. So I'm going to say template peer let's say peer template peer. So router BGP, let's just say router BGP one. So let's say template peer, let's say peer session. Um, we already have a name for our peer session, right? Which is ibgp session. Copy paste. Okay, then we're going to say, I'm not sure we can do this. I'm not sure we can tie a route map to, so I'm not sure we can do. So we do need to, of course, not as much as I know. Uh, so we just have to, grab all the neighbors and then tie that policy to, I think it should be under the specific address family. So I'm just going to grab everything here. So let's try it on one of them first. So I'm just going to grab this. So most times we always don't want to. I'm going to say route map. Okay, so we're going to apply it to. In this case, our route map is. So this is a route map, which is arrow router 6 ibgp. Okay, so we are going to apply it out. Okay, so as I send it to router 1, we're going to put that. So I'm just going to grab this now. Let's put it in notepad to make it easier. I'm going to paste it here. Okay, so let me grab the IP details. So I'm going to, if I hold my Alt key, so I'm going to grab this like this and hit copy. Oh, my bad. I'm going to skip that out. Um, so I'm going to paste it here. Oh, no, 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 that's not what we wanted. Let's go back to Notepad. This is where I wanted to paste it. So hit enter paste. So I'm going to grab this now and copy. So let's just paste it to all our ibgp pairs. Okay, so we don't need this because this is not an ibgp pair, it's an ebgp pair. So there's a duplicate here. Delete this. So we have 1 3 4 7 9, so which is correct. So I'm going to paste it now. Okay, so that should be good. So if I say show run 5 section route BGP. All right, so that is what we just did. We applied the route policy outbound. So what that means is if we should clear the IP BGP process, do a hard reset. So if we go back to router 3 now and say, okay, show IP BGP for regex. So it's going to force them to regex for anything that is coming from autonomous system 56. Use the so let's give it some time. Let's see what we'll be learning from those pairs. So currently, as it is, we're still everything we're learning is still from route. Okay, so we can ask router two. So, okay, so when you let's see your show BGP neighbor for 172.20.3.3.3. Let's see what you're advertising to them. Currently, we are not advertising anything. There's a problem, right? Show IP BGP. Okay, so it's still converging. We have not yet converged. I guess that's why. So let's give it some time for it to properly converge. So once we have that, the links we should be fine. It's taking longer than it should, right? So I'm not sure why. So we still have this part. Okay, so now it has fully converged. Okay, so if we now ask this router, when you are sending prefixes to router 3, you're going to see for the 6.6 now, the next hop is still not being modified. Okay, so it means the policy we created didn't actually take effect because it's still setting the next hop to itself, right? So let's say router 3, when you receive prefixes from, okay, so it works actually, okay. So we're not saying when you received it, we're saying when you're advertising. So currently we know how to get to 6, okay, and my next stop is 2. Okay, I'm trying that part. I also have another part to so currently we have multi parts to this router too, and I don't know why we are not saying so for the 6.2 everything since we are okay. So the next stop, this is strange because with the way it is now. Okay, so I think what happened is when we advertised it to router 1, we set the next stop to router 2, right? And so we're learning it from router 2 and we're also learning it from um, router 4. Okay, so I think, okay, so let's just show IP routes BGP. Can you see that we are learning that prefixes through BGP and our next stop is router 2? So I'm not really sure, but let's take a look at this together. Okay, so the thing is this: we're learning this next stop here, right? We send it to router 4, and router 4 modify the next stop to itself and send it to router 1. Okay, so same thing for router 2. So we're learning these prefixes here, and then router 2 is modifying it and setting the next hop to itself, which is router 2. Okay, so router 2 is then forwarding it to router 1 and say, for you to get to this loop back, okay, the next hop is me. Okay, so router 4 is also saying, okay, for you to get to that loop back, the next hop is me. So my question is, when router 2 now want to get to this network, it has two valid paths, right? So it can either go through this path or through this path. Two best paths. So let's see that from router 1 now. So if I go back to, let's clean this out. So if I go back to my router 1, I'm going to say ask router 1, show IP BGP for 172.20.6.6/32. Okay, so router 1 has two valid paths actually. Okay, the first part is through router 2 and the second part is through router 4. But for a reason I'm not sure of, router 1 is preferring router 2 as the next stop to that destination. Okay, so this best part is what is going to advertise to router 3. So as it currently stands now, if I go back to the topology, BGP is always very interesting. So if I go back to the topology here, let me bring back the what we initially did before. So let me go at the pen. So we are learning this part through router 4. We're also learning it through router 2, which is this loopback, right? So the next stop, this one is setting its next stop to router 2. It's also setting the next stop to router 4. But probably because the router ID, this one has a lower router ID, router 1 is preferring this part as the best part. So this best part is what router 1 will not take and advertise to router 3. Router 2 is also advertising to router 3. Okay. So on router 3 now, router 3 is saying, oh, I have two parts to this prefix. I'm learning it from router 1 and also learning it from router 2. What router 1 is advertising to me is this guy. What I'm also learning from router 2 directly is router 2. So that's why you see on router 3. Okay, so on router 3, let me wipe this out. When I say, where's my router 3? Say show IP BGP for 172.20.6.6/32. We are saying that first I'm learning it from router 1, I'm also learning it from router 2, but the next stop are the same. Okay, so instead of me learning from router 1 and I'm sticking to records to my next stop of router 2, I would rather prefer to just go straight to router 2. So that's why router 2 is being preferred as the best path to that destination. Okay, it's pretty much sometimes confusing because we also have a valid path which is router 4, but router 4 is not being preferred. So one way we can actually change this is to say, okay, router 4, when you receive these prefixes from router 6, we can now use what we call use our attributes to say, okay, set the local preference to 150 or a lower value. Okay, so when we set the local preference to 200 and then we advertise it to router 1, router 1 will now use, looking at the best path selection process, will now prefer prefix length for router 4 that has a higher local preference. Can we do that now? For us to do that, let's first of all go to router 4. So if I go to router 4, okay, so if I go to router 4, I'm going to say show run pipe show RPL. I know we have to type the route policy. So this is what we have, right? So we can modify this. So I'm just going to grab this now. Copy. Okay, so this one, oh, this is from router 10. I beg your pardon. So which policy did we use? Okay, we actually used okay, so I think this is what we are using. Let's use this. I'm going to copy this now. Okay, so from router 6, I'm going to paste it. Okay, so I'm going to say want to pass, I want to set local preference. Okay, so 150. All right, so I'm going to end the policy. I'm going to hit commit. So that's going to cause reconvergence. So I'm going to say show run now. RPL. So we'll say show RPL route policy. So we are saying when we so this is to router 6 actually. Okay, so it was applied. Let's see, show run pipe section router BGP, show run pipe section router BGP. I mean show run router BGP. Sometimes confusing. So where's the policy? Okay, so where's the policy towards? Okay, so when you pair with your ibgp peers, you are not really applying policy. So we can actually apply the policy to these two guys to say. And so what we did was not what we are supposed to do. Okay, but we can as well apply it, I guess. So let's say copy. Let me go to Notepad and paste it there. Okay, so I'm going to say route policy. So let's go. Let me just copy it from there. So route policy to router 6 out. So let me see if I can tie this policy towards those neighbor. I don't know. Paste, and let's paste it here too. Okay, so I'm going to copy. Okay, so I'm going to go to R4 T. I'm going to paste it. Oh, sorry. So I'm going to say router BGP 1. So I'm going to paste this config in, commit. So it should be fine now. So let's now ask router 1 and router 2. When you learn this prefix, okay, so currently we're still preferring router 2. So the local preference here is now set to 150, right? But it's still choosing router. Okay. So let's see. So as it currently stand now, it's still choosing router 2 as the best part. Why? Why that? So let's see. It's still choosing that. Let's look at it critically to see. Okay, so the weight is the same here, right? But the local preference is higher. So, they are both high. My bad. So what I did was I applied both router 1 and router 2, which shouldn't be that. So what we're supposed to do is, so I'm going to say here, no way. I'm not going to apply it to you because I don't want to. So I'm going to hit copy. Um, so there's something I just noticed. Let's go back and correct this. Something earlier I explained. So Control Z. So let's just say no to those. I want to take it out. I'm going to say no. There's something I noticed. It seems to me that the IDP metric to the next hubs are not the same. So let's go to router 4. Let's go back to router 4. Config P. I'm going to say router BGP 1. Let's paste this back. So I'm going to take out the policy now. Okay, I'm going to hit commit. So that's, of course, that would definitely take effect. So we say show IPGP this. So the route policy should be reversed within the moment. So let's give it some time. It's taking longer than we needed. So I hope it was taken out from router 4. Yeah. So let's say show run router BGP. So the policy is no longer there. That is router 1. So router 1 should also not be applying the local preference. So let's say clear IPBGP star out. Clear IPBGP. Okay, so clear. Let's say clear BGP star unicast. Clear BGP IPv4 unicast star soft out and soft in. Okay, so when we do that now, that's going to force the other routers to still not reverse clear IPBGP. I just say clear IPBGP. So you have to give it some time now. We're still learning it from round 2. Round 3 is still setting it to. So why is this still setting it to? strange. Let's go to router 2 and say clear IP BGP star. Okay, so let's go back to router 1. So when let's give it some time. Set to 150. So why are we setting it to 150? Obviously, I don't know. So let's go to router 4. I thought I took it out. Show run 5 section router BGP. Show RPL route policy. So here I'm going to remove it from. Oh, it's still there. So let's remove this policy. So I'm just going to copy. Let's paste it back and say no. Okay, so let me just paste it back. Paste. So I'm going to remove this and say commit. Show RPL route policy. Okay, so it's there. So this is not what we really wanted. So let's do a copy again. Having two parts there. Paste. So end policy. Show configuration. Do show. Okay, so let's hit commit. Show RPL route policy. All right, so we're good. So I think router 2 should be taking those ones out now. So if you go to router 1, I say, how am I learning about this guy? So we're back to the local preference of this. So something I just noticed was that the IGP metric to the next stop was actually lower for router 2. Okay, so IGP metric to the next stop for router 4 was higher. That was why we. So sometimes, although this is not an exam situation, we have to really sit down and critically analyze it to find out, okay, why is router 1 choosing. Okay, they have it has two valid part, right? But it's picking router 2 as the best part because the IGP metric to the next stop is shorter, which in this case is 20. But if it's going through router 4, it is higher. So what we said was that, okay, currently from the topology, anybody that is trying to reach router 6 is going through router 2, right? So look at what we are going to do. So we said that if we are trying to, so if router 3 is trying to get to the loop back of router 6, is going through router 2 because it has a lower IGP metric to the next hop. Okay, but again, we're also learning, we also have this part which is being advertised to router 2 and also be advertised to router 4. So what I said was that we can say, okay, when we receive these prefixes from router 6 and we advertise it to router 1, okay, when we receive these prefixes from router 6 and we advertise it to router 1, we want to set the next hop to want to set the local preference to a higher value. So in this case, we want to say 150. So what we need to do is we need to be explicit on the prefixes that we are marking with the higher local preference. If we just tie it to that route policy, it's going to apply to everything that router 4 is advertising to router 2 and router 1. So we don't want that. So I'm going to just create that prefix set. Okay. So you're going to see that prefix set is something that we will always be using all the time. So if I go to router 4, so router 4, let's quickly do that. It's not going to be hard. So we can even use this. We can edit this. I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. So in this case, ours should be 6.6, right? Dot 6. And the other one is 46, right? It's going to be 46.0 and 26.0. Okay, so we're going to say we want to pass and we also want to set I think the command was set local preference. Okay, so 150. Just so my spelling is correct. So let's see, let's paste it on. Okay, so the route policy is going to be what for router 6, right? So so we have to create a different route policy for this. Okay, okay, say higher. Let's just say route policy we say higher for local pref. Okay, local pref for router 6. Okay, so I'm going to paste it here now. Yeah, took it, so we're good. I'm going to hit commit. So if I say show RPL route policy, then we have that route policy for router 6. So all we just need to do is take this route policy and apply it to the BGP process. So I'm going to say show run router BGP. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to apply it only when we advertise it to router 1. Okay, so if I come here now and paste it here, okay, so I'm going to grab the route policy. Let me go up a little bit. I'm going to grab this, copy. I'm going to go to this part here. So T, hit enter, paste. So local policy out as we advertise it to router 1. Okay, so we have to be careful with our route policy. Now we're almost making the same mistake here because we need to say S. If we don't say S, it means these are the only provinces that we advertise, right? So I'm going to grab this again. I'm going to say, so up to this point here, I just remember before we make the same mistake of a T, paste. All right, we're going to say S, pass every other prefix. I'm going to hit end if end policy commit. Okay, so if we go back there now and we're going to tie this to the BGP process, so I'm going to say router BGP. I'm going to say as we, I'm going to paste it here out. Okay, so we're going to say route policy. So we're supposed to say route policy. Okay, so let's grab this now. Copy paste, and we're going to hit the commit. Okay, so I'm going to say show run router BGP. So currently we now have that policy apply outbound towards router 1. So if we now go to router 1, I ask you, say, hey buddy, how do you get to router 4? So router 4 is now being preferred. Meanwhile, router 2 is still preferring, say, show IPBGP for 172.20.6.6/32. So router, okay, so the way it is now, oh my goodness. So router 2 is now preferring, oh, I think I know why. Remember, router 2, they are both client of each other, right? So router 2 is also preferring router 1 to get to that part because it now has a higher local preference. So this just kind of show us ways we can actually, use what we call BGP attribute for best path selection, because remember, although the IGP metric to the next stop was shorter back then, uh that part was no longer preferred because, okay, so this is what we previously had. Okay, so this is what we previously had. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, although the IGP metric to this part was shorter, but because local preference is higher in the hierarchy of BGP part best path selection process, we saw that even Rarato had to neglect his own best path calculation, and then because he was learning the preferences from router 1 and he has a higher local preference, that was now preferred. So if you go to router 3 and every other neighbor in the topology and say, okay, show BGP, show IPBGP for 172.20.6.6/32, so you see that router 6, which is that next stop, is now being preferred. So if I say so if I say show IP serve to 172.16.46.6, you're going to see your next stop is router 8. So if I also say show IP route to the next stop, which is this 46, you're going to see we are choosing router 4. So our next stop is we are learning from router 4, and our next stop is router 8, and we are learning it directly from router 4. Okay, so we can now do a trace route to 172.20.6.6/32. Trace route to 72.20.6.6. I'm going to source it from my loopback, so you can now see that we have full readability. Notice that once it gets to that AS, it's not being included. That look, you are no longer in your own IGP. This is from a different neighbor. All right, so you can do some other things. Okay, I mean, like you can test other things. Okay, let me tell you what I just think about this. Um let's say for example, let me bring out my pen. Let's say once router 2, one situation whereby if router 7 is trying to get to this loop back, router 7 is taking this path. Okay, I will still say, however, if router 3 is trying to reach that part, I want router 3 to take this path. All right, so you can think about it. How can you achieve that? How is that even going to be possible? Yes, it is possible. You just have to think very deeply on how you can use what we call BGP attribute to be able to achieve this. I mean, we don't want a situation whereby all the traffic will be going through this provider edge to this customer. We want a situation whereby some traffic might go through router 2, while some traffic might go through router 4. Yes, it's sometimes it could be a business requirement. The customer will tell you, "Oh, I have to last mile connection to me," but I don't just want to be using the fiber leg alone. I want situation whereby critical traffic goes through router 2, while less critical traffic goes through router 4. So I want a situation where these two links are being load balanced. Okay, so how do you achieve that? It means we want a situation whereby some prefixes are coming in, they are going to use this part to get to this router 6, while some will go through router 2. There are ways you can achieve that. I want you to think about it. I want you to write your comments below. Tell me what you think, how that can be achieved. It's something that you can actually explore and uh, make that happen. So in the next video, we're going to look at. So what we're going to look at in the next video is this. As it currently stands now, you notice that because let's look at something. If I go to router 6, then bring up my secure CRT. On router 6 right now, if I ask router 6, show IPBGP for regex. Okay, anything that originated from autonomous system 56. Sorry, it's not 45, it's 46. Okay, so this is strange. Show IPBGP. Okay, so everything. Okay, so instead of say 56, let's say that doesn't have. Okay, so currently this is what we are learning. Okay, this is our own locally originated prefixes as far as router 6 is concerned, right? But if we now include this AS, so anything that was originated from 56, it's in nothing. If I also come and say show IPBGP, okay, now let's look at it. Where is autonomous system 56? Or where are the prefixes from router 5? I mean, just take a look at this. From all this way down, you see anything 5.5 is not included. So the idea is this. Remember, we say it's possible for customers. I mean, for one customer to be multi-home to the single provider, right? So this is the same company. Okay, let's call this company popular name that we use is Acme, right? So this is Acme. So Acme has a this is their headquarters. This is the remote location. Okay, so this is a branch connectivity. But remember, they are using the same AS, and the AS is what 56. Okay, so the problem now is we are learning about every other prefixes in the or we are learning about the full BGP table, but the problem is the branch is not currently learning prefixes from router 5 or the subnet or the interconnected links between router 5 and the between router 1, router 3, and router 5. And so the reason is because, of course, they are within the same autonomous system, and you know that BGP, once you look at the AS pathways and it sees its own autonomous system number included, what is it going to do? It's going to back and it's going to filter them out. So as it's not that it's not learning the prefixes from router 2. Router 2, of course, is advertising it to router 6. But when router 6 gets it, what is it going to do? It's going to what? Filter them out because those prefixes seems to be originating from its own autonomous system. Okay, so we're going to use what we call, we have two options that we could use. So I don't want this video to be too long. We've already spent a lot of time. So what I want to do now is, in the next video, we're going to take a critical look at that. We're going to look at how we can actually tell router 6. Well, we know that it looks like a loop, but want you to allow those prefixes in because they're actually from your HQ. And we're also going to do things like we're going to tag those prefixes and say, okay, any prefix that actually comes out on this interface, we want to make sure. So we're going to things we're going to test is BGP site of origin, AS override, and the allow AS in attribute. We're also going to look at how we can actually tell how the provider can tell customers, look, you can send your prefixes to me, but anything greater than /25, we're not going to allow that. /24 the way down, we can accept that, but anything higher than that, we are going to filter that. So those are some of the BGP operations, BGP configurations or optimization that we're going to do as far as this course is concerned. So just stay put. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.